in Greece.
It's great to see everyone here today. Before we go to questions, I want to give you a little recap so you know what I've gone through in my piano journey and how I overcame huge struggles. As a kid, my hands were so weak, I had great difficulty playing music I really wanted to play. My reading was so bad, I was like a beginner even when I was playing advanced music. I would get so nervous playing for people. That's right. I wasn't born with all the talent I needed in order to play the piano the way I wanted to. Even though I came from a musical family and had many advantages most people don't have, I still struggled. It seems like there are about 1,000 things you need to play well. Then I discovered the 4 piano pillars system, which breaks everything down into exactly what you need in order to elevate your piano playing. You're going to get my gems of wisdom that have taken me literally a lifetime to achieve right here today. Years of study, degrees, and diplomas from New York to Austria, some of the greatest pianists I've had the privilege to study with, all condensed down to the essence for you. First, I've got 3 secrets I'm going to reveal to you right now. The first secret is you don't have to spend countless hours on the piano to get phenomenal results. Secret 2 is you don't have to be born with talent to play piano really well. And secret number 3 is you can play the piano with confidence even when playing for other people. Who here would like to be able to do these things? Give a shout out on the chat. You may have tried method books, private lessons, YouTube videos, music software programs, and still don't get the results you're after in your playing. Although you may get some results with this, here's the issues with them. Private lessons are great, but when you're there, but then you get home and you can't make the kind of progress you want. Searching out videos on YouTube can sometimes provide what you need, but just as often, you can waste time searching out solutions for problems you have with your playing and never find what you're looking for. How many people have experienced this? Let me know here in the chat, and later I'm going to address some questions for you. You know, method books seem like a good solution, but the music may not be what you really want to play. You ever feel that way? How many people wish they could play music, but a lot of it just seems out of reach? Let me know here again in the chat. What if there was a better way where you could approach the music you always have wanted to play? How many of you would be interested in how to do that? Who here has tried some of these methods and haven't gotten the results you're after in your playing? Well, what if you could get the kind of results in your practice without having to spend more time at the piano? Would you be interested? If you've tried private lessons, method books, exercises, YouTube videos, music software, and nothing has worked, then you'll be interested in the golden nuggets of piano you will gain today in this presentation. What do they normally tell you need to do in order to improve your playing? What have you tried? The issue with this is that teachers say to practice, but do they ever show you exactly how to practice? You get home and you're alone with your piano wanting to improve and wondering what to do. You know, growing up, it wasn't just the lessons with my father, but it was the classes with the other students. We learned from each other, we got to play for each other. It was so strong. And then later in high school, I had an opportunity to study at the Mozarteum in Salzburg, Austria, where again, the teachers were incredible, but it was the camaraderie with the other students that it created a real synergy. So, what if I told you there's a better way? Remember how I told you how I struggled to get where I wanted to go with my piano playing? But then I had an epiphany, and all of a sudden things they clicked for me, and I started sharing it with students. Well, what we discovered is the 4 pillars piano system. Just like the home you're in right now has to be supported not just with a solid foundation, but the framing has to be solid, the electrical has to be right, or I mean, your house could burn down. The roof has to shelter you from the rain, things are toxic mold, who knows? The heating, the air, in some climates, your pipes can freeze. Well, it's the same thing with your playing. It's only as strong as the weakest pillar. That's why the 4-pillar system is so effective. Each pillar supports each other pillar, building upon a solid foundation to bring your playing to a level you may have thought was impossible. How many of you are interested in dramatically improving your playing and being able to read music more fluently and approach music that has always been out of reach? Put a yes in the chat if that's you. And I'll show you right here how you can implement this. So, pillar 1 is perhaps the most important one. I'm going to start with that, then I'll field some questions about this because this is so important. How to practice. Remember, secret 1, how to get more done for the time you spend. Well, having a clear path as to what to do specifically when you're sitting down to practice is key. You must break things down to the simplest elements, building digestible chunks of music bit by bit. Just like if you're building a house, you would focus on one board or one brick at a time. It's the same exact thing with your music. So instead of reading through large sections of music and going through it over and over again, trying to improve it by getting rid of mistakes and finding the things you missed all the other times you played it, you take tiny sections, hand separately, and you learn all the details of the score right from the get-go, the notes, the rhythm, the fingering, the phrasing, and the expression. That way you never have to unlearn something you've learned wrong. That is the number one waste of time. Just like a pilot has a checklist, since people's lives are at stake. Well, what is your life but your time? If you're working at the piano and not getting the results you're after, you're throwing away life at the piano instead of getting the kind of fulfillment you deserve, frankly. Do you see how that's helpful? Perfecting tiny sections of music, piece by piece, hand separately, putting them together and connecting each section instead of going through music again and again without clear purpose. This is one of the foundations of the 4-pillar system. Dale came to me and was frustrated at the piano. He loved to learn great music. He even wanted to enter the Van Cliburn amateur piano competition and has an immense amount of repertoire, but it would have taken him almost a year to learn a single piece. Then he embraced the 4 pillars piano system and was able to learn whole pieces in just 2 or 3 weeks, which would have taken him 6 months to a year to complete. How many of you would like to be able to do that? Let me know here in the chat. Do you see how that could give you an advantage over other piano players? Okay, so we're all in agreement that this makes more sense as far as getting your piano skills together than the other old ways that you've all tried. So, if there are any questions now, I'm happy to take a couple of questions that help other people to gain anything we have here, Florence.
Okay, so all the questions seem to be about buying pianos, both digital, and actually one particular person, I would suggest that they email you because it's going to be specific to what they need to do at the piano. So whether to get a hybrid or a different digital or get an acoustic piano, I would say that would probably be best because we would need to know, you would need to know what their plans are to know the best option, I would think. So.
Yes, I'm always happy to help you with any piano questions you have at all. And, I've been helping people getting pianos for many, many years. As a matter of fact, I started after graduating from music conservatory, I'd always been teaching privately from the time I was in high school, assisting my father as my sister did before me. And then people would call me for lessons, and the first question I would always ask is, do you have a piano? And you wouldn't believe how many people would want lessons and they didn't have a piano. And I had to tell them honestly, you're better off with a piano and no lessons than lessons and no piano. And I've been selling pianos ever since, and I'm happy to help anybody and help you identify what the right piano is for you. So now, going to secret number 2, learning music and knowing how to practice, fundamental, but secret number 2 is You don't have to be born with talent to play piano really well. When you have the right tools, you can play at a high level. No one has all the skills of the piano at birth. There are so many aspects of piano playing, from the physiology of your hands, your sense of rhythm, your coordination, how well you can read music. No one has it all. You can learn how to build on your strengths and mitigate your weaknesses. Each pillar builds what you need in your playing. Learning, reading, technique, and theory, which go hand in hand with everything. And finally, learning how to perform, how to play for people. Each pillar strengthens the others, making your playing more solid than ever. Does everyone see that? Do you see how helpful this is? Well, it wasn't just helpful for me. Whitney had tried private lessons and also worked on her own with many different methods, but could never get her reading level to where she wanted. But then she discovered the 4-pillar system, and she learned how to look at chunks of music instead of individual notes. Just like when you first learn how to read English, you sound out each letter, but then you recognize words and even groups of words that you can read fluently. The same thing will happen with your piano playing. Does that make sense? Would you like to be able to read more fluently at the piano? How many people here feel that way? Having a solid foundation in music theory is another pillar, is key for achieving this. So often music theory is taught really badly. I know that Florence had like a miserable theory teacher. What was that like for you when you were in music school?
Oh, it was just so demoralizing, because if there was anything that he was explaining, he would make, it would be a 2-hour class, and I would be totally lost. And then after the class, I would seek out my chamber music coach, who was also a wonderful theory teacher, and ask him. And it was like we both had to go to the same other end of the building. It wasn't even that big a building. And in this short walk, he would explain everything that I was totally baffled by for 2 hours. So I think some particular teachers, who, especially this particular theory teacher, he had been a child prodigy. I think he just thought it was wonderful to bring up all the various things he thought about in music theory, and that was just distracting from, well, what are we doing? You know, what is a chord? What is the inversion? How do I figure it out? You know, it's like.
How many of you have been turned off to music theory? I want to hear from you. And the problem is how it's taught. Imagine trying to learn algebra, for example, if you don't even know your addition and multiplication tables, because everything builds on everything else. There is an elegant architecture to music, and when you see it, it's enlightening. Whitney not only could read more fluently with the 4-pillar system, but she was also able to learn music she always wanted to play. Do you guys see how helpful that is? Do you see how you can apply that in your life? So who here struggles with confidence? Remember secret number 3? Secret number 3 is that you can play the piano with confidence even when playing for other people. You maybe feel shy to play in front of your friends and family, or maybe you get really nervous even playing for your teacher, for anyone. Does that sound familiar to you? Pat had great difficulty playing for anyone, even his teacher. And oh my gosh, it's amazing. When he utilized the 4 pillars, guess what? One of the pillars is how to play for people. Performing isn't just about playing the way you do at home. It's an entirely new experience. How many of you have trouble playing for people? Let me know here in the chat. What if there was a way you could overcome this and play your best when sharing your music with others? Is that something you would like? Well, Pat overcame this by embracing the piano pillar system. Of course, the prerequisite is to be prepared, and all the pillars, strengthen that. But I remember the first time I started playing for people in my father's student recitals, I was so nervous. My hands were sweaty. My heart was racing like mad. I knew there had to be another way so I could overcome this challenge. And there is. Instead of ignoring the audience for the people you play for, you embrace them and use that energy to inspire you instead of hurting your playing. just like great athletes utilize visualization, you must think about playing for people as if they are there in advance. So when you have the opportunity, it's familiar and you feel at home. You also have to practice performing. You can start by recording yourself with your phone, pretending it's a performance, and don't stop if you make a mistake. Make it a true performance, and from there you build up. First, just play for like one trusted friend or a family member and build from there gradually. My father, he performed at Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, Europe, Washington, D.C., many other places. But before every performance, he would have practice tryouts in his studio of programs. He just invited a few good friends over. So even seasoned performers get nervous. It's how you deal with the energy that makes the difference. Does this make sense? How many of you would like to gain what Pat gained by embracing the 4-pillar system? Let me ask you, are there any questions relating to this?
Not so much relating to that.
Any very key questions?
There is one question I think you should answer, because this person asked it yesterday and we didn't have time to get to it. And that is specifically about the Czerny, Opus 740 in the art of finger dexterity, and the tempo recommended for the molto allegro is they had a metronome marking yesterday, but is it necessary to play it as fast as what they're saying, is what the question is.
What's most important is playing with absolute security, which is why slow practice is the bedrock of anybody who wants to improve their piano playing. Okay, I got a story for you. This is unbelievable. I had the opportunity to study with Ruth Slemczynska. Ruth Slemczynska was known as one of the greatest child prodigies of the 20th century. She was performing from the time she was 4 years old and studied with her teachers like a who's who of the greatest pianists, from Schnabel to Courteau to Rachmaninoff himself. Well, she was a very, very young child, and she got to go to Rachmaninoff's home. She's outside the door. Her father knocks on the door, but just before he knocked, she hears inside a beginning student. And then the door opens, and there's towering Sergei Rachmaninoff. She gets inside the room, and she realizes that no one else was there. It was him practicing, and it was so slow, he sounded like a beginner. And I can tell you, every single teacher I have studied with, from my father to John Ogden, everybody, myself included, spends a tremendous amount of time practicing slowly. From there, increase the metronome speed little by little, and don't sacrifice security for speed. As you get faster, lighten up, and that will help you to gain fluency. Metronome markings are not essential. Now, generally in music, metronome markings should be ignored. Why? Because they're just put in by editors. They're meaningless. And a lot of times, they don't make any sense at all. As a matter of fact, Florence has a really interesting story about this. Listen to this. This is crazy.
Okay, years ago, I was at the Aspen Music Festival, and I was assigned to a group, a small chamber group, and the piece that we were playing was written by one of the in-resident composers. And it would go along nice and relaxed, and then suddenly the flute would have like a bazillion notes at a time, and the tempo marking, the metronome marking, was so fast that when I brought it to my flute teacher in Aspen and played through my part for him, he literally said, "I don't know how you can play it that fast." And I said, "Yeah, that's the metronome marking." So then I'm nervous as hell, because we're going to have the first rehearsal with the composer there. And because I'm the flute player in this particular wind group, I was the one who would start the piece with the tempo. So I started, and within a few measures, the composer stops and says, "Oh, no, that's too fast." And I pulled out my metronome. I said, "That's what you wrote." And I took the metronome out, and he listened to it, and he goes, "Oh, ha, ha, ha. I always do that." And I was like, "What?" I worked so hard.
So really, and you know, when you listen to different performances of pieces, there are drastically different tempos that seasoned artists take. And it's what's important, as I said, gain security and increase little by little. It's not how fast you play, it's how well you play. Work on your scales and arpeggios primarily, because a lot of exercises, you know, you can be studying music instead of exercises. You know, there are musical etudes that solve technical problems. I'm a firm believer in concentrating in music for developing your playing. And the adjunct for that is just a very small amount of technical exercise like scales, arpeggios, and wrists work. Now I'm going to reveal something that, oh my gosh, it's kind of embarrassing, but I was a miserable sight reader. I mean, even when I could play advanced music, I learned really well when I was in high school. I remember the choral teacher came to me with a stack of music telling me how he had just lost his accompanist for a concert later in the week and asked if I could help him out. I looked at the music and knew I couldn't possibly get it together by Thursday, even though he had heard me play Beethoven sonatas, Chopin ballades. He would never have believed that I couldn't do it, but I couldn't. But then I had an aha moment. My father is going to be performing the Tchaikovsky B-flat minor piano concerto with full orchestra at Carnegie Hall. He said, "Bob, I just need to run this through with somebody before my performance. Can you help me out?" And I said, "I would miss half the notes." You know, actually that's a lie because I couldn't even get half the notes. But I looked at this piano arrangement of the whole orchestra, you know, reduced for the piano, a Tchaikovsky orchestration with all these flats. And it was like, oh my gosh. So I knew that if I took my eyes off the score for even a moment, I would never be able to find my way. So I counted, and I kept my eyes moving, I kept my hands going, and never got lost. And when we got done, I apologized to my father for missing so many notes. And you know what he said? You can't believe this. He said, "No, that's exactly what I needed." I was flabbergasted. Ever since then, I've always taken the opportunity to play with other people and have been getting more and more of the notes. So do you guys see how the 4 pillars you need to improve your reading, supercharge your practice, and boost your confidence? I remember when I was studying at the Manhattan School of Music, I had a solo piano recital scheduled, but I came down with mononucleosis, so I kept having to postpone the concert. I finally gave in and made the date for the performance. Since I was in bed most of the day, I couldn't practice much. I took the scores in bed with me and studied them. I had played a solo piano recital just a year before in which I practiced a tremendous amount. This time I spent a minimal amount of time at the piano, but the time I studied the scores in bed really paid off. The concert was on a totally different level than anything I'd ever done before. It shows you that practice is primarily a mental activity. It's not just about moving your fingers. Knowing the learning pillar, if that's all you get from this presentation today, it can change your life if piano is important to you. So everyone's in agreement. Secret number 1, it's not how much you spend, but the thought process that elevates your playing that makes the difference for you. This in turn will boost your confidence so you can enjoy playing the piano, knowing how to practice performing, that you don't need to have to be born with talent. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. It's only from the outside that it looks like people are born with everything they need. You just need to know how to approach each of the pillars to support your playing. So everyone's in agreement now that this can boost your confidence. Well, let me show you guys how the 4 pillars allow you to have more confidence, allowing you to be less shy and get rid of all your performance anxiety. There was Amanda. She struggled learning music and tried online programs and method books, even playing other instruments in order to get musical satisfaction. So, when she embraced the 4 pillars, everything changed. She learned dozens of pieces that were completely out of reach before then, after using the methods in the 4 pillars piano system. Isn't that amazing? How many people here are busy? I know I am, and that's one of the great benefits and why I developed the 4 pillars piano system. I used it, and the results my students are getting with the program, it's just amazing. What if I told you there is a way that you can implement some of this and it will allow you to get results quickly, even if you're on a busy schedule or are a working professional or doing other things in your life? Because let's face it, we don't all have the time to dedicate like a Juilliard piano major, right? All right, so here we go. I'm going to show you how to do the 4 pillars. What you can do is a little exercise I designed with the 4 pillars. You just do 4 to 10 minutes of exercise. That's it. Along with the following learning pillar each day, learning something new each day, and reviewing what you did the day before. You try that this week. Just do it for 1 week straight and watch what happens to your playing. Charles was a full-time church musician and wanted to expand his musical horizons. I shared with him how the 4 pillars with this minimum daily focus practice method with the 4 pillars, and all of a sudden he was able to expand his repertoire of music even though he's extremely busy. He was so discouraged when he came to me because he used to try the old way of just playing through the music, trying to improve it, but it took forever to get anything solid. It was kind of overwhelming for him. But now he tried the 4 pillars and it saved him time quickly. So you all see that saves you time. He just didn't have time for, anything else, but using this system was a game changer for him. Now he can expand his repertoire even though he's just as busy, putting the same amount of time in the piano. This is the amazing thing. Do you see how this works? Would you like to be able to do this? Okay. So is everyone on the same page? The 4 pillars are superior. Everyone's on this. It gives you confidence. It allows you to let go of negative performance anxiety. Instead, you can look forward to playing for people. So I wonder how you feel about this. If you like this, say yes in the chat. It gives you results quickly. So if you've been discouraged, how to take micro sections of music can break things down for you into digestible chunks, bit by bit, learning more quickly than you ever learned before, instead of having to unlearn mistakes the whole time you're practicing, which is so much harder. You've learned how to do chunks of music instead of individual notes and dramatically improve your reading. You saw my story, how I was nervous playing for people and learned visualization, practicing, performing. Also, how I overcame being a beginning level sight reader and overcame by playing with other people. I was struggling with technique and learned that 5 or 10 minutes a day was all I needed to solidify my technique along with practicing music. Not hours of boring exercises. And then I discovered this path, and then it allowed me to bring my playing and reading to levels I couldn't have imagined before, and now I'm sharing with my students and looking at what's happened with them. You now know the 4 pillars is a better way because the old ways just don't get the results you're after. So, which way makes sense? The old ways or this new path? Is everyone in agreement that the new way is better? Okay? I hope you see this because I've seen it time and time again. Now you know how it gives your confidence. It doesn't matter if you're born with natural talent, and you also know how it saves time instantly the first time you try it. Are you guys enjoying this presentation so far? Are you glad you came here? Do you now feel more insightful and more motivated to get started on your piano journey in ways you didn't even think were possible before? Is it fair to say that you guys have a significant advantage over other piano players that want to get better? Well, what if there was a better way? A better way to go deeper? What if there was a way that I could give you extra support? What if there was a way I had more blueprints, support systems, and give you more accountability and inspiration? We discovered is that people really need to take it to the next level so they can keep the momentum going and have the drive in their practice. And if there was a community that was not only rooting for you, but that was there with you every step of the way. So not only get you results you want and desire, but quite frankly, I believe you deserve. If there was a way for that and an option for this, who here would be interested to hear more about this and how it could explode your piano playing? Put yes in the chat. Okay, great. This is with privilege, I introduced to you the Living Piano Mastermind Club, which is all about helping people who play the piano get massively more done with every time they sit down at the piano and gain the confidence you've been hearing about today, to read music more fluently, to enjoy playing the piano for themselves and others, to be able to learn pieces more quickly. And if you're interested, let's book a strategy session, because I'm hand selecting just a few students for the next enrollment period, which is almost full. And if it's right for you, now is the time to book a time to see if it's right for you or not. It's in the description of this video. That's why I'm doing this class now. It's because we're finding more members that are interested in it. So if you're interested, you've got to book a time right now, because they're filling up quickly. The link is right in the description. And by the way, we'll be finding the best qualified, the best fit, to see if you're the right fit or not. This is for people who love playing the piano and want to play better. It's for people who want to be able to learn music that has always been out of reach. It's for people who want to improve reading music and playing. If you're interested, you may be a good fit. Now, it's not for people who don't play the piano at all. I mean, if you're already totally satisfied with your playing, then you don't need it, right? If you're resistant to change, this may not be the right fit either. Okay, so who wants to join me for a strategy session? Let's book it now. Let me hear from you here. And this is the time to do it. Anybody here? What do we got here, Florence? Any good questions or comments on this?
Well, we have some questions from earlier, again, about buying instruments. And one is somebody's wondering if he can get a forte piano. Still, if that's possible.
You know, forte pianos are pretty rare. There are just a few sellers of those instruments. Interestingly, I actually sold my forte piano to my nephew, who is now an early music specialist. Sean Cleve, he performs on harpsichord, he's learning forte piano. I had a program I did for many years, Living Piano Journey Through Time, historic concert experience, where I played that. So I suggest looking online. But I wonder how many of you have gotten something out of this program here. I'm pouring my heart out here. I'm trying to share with you what I've experienced for myself and what I've done with others. And I'm wondering how you feel about that, if there's any questions. And incidentally, in terms of anybody who's interested in getting pianos, I am here for you. We have around 60 pianos. Many of them are on the website with videos. Just go to livingpianos.com. The videos are professional. You can check them out. Free delivery anywhere in the country. We have a piano going to Singapore now. One is going to be going to Canada. We have pianos crisscrossing the country all the time, and the recordings are made so you can compare all the instruments. So that's a whole nice adjunct, and if that alone is what you get out today, that's also great. But I'm wondering how everybody feels about the Piano Pillars system. Any questions about that?
So there is a question for you. As a classical pianist, how do you get along with jazz? Could you maybe play us something?
That's a good question. I haven't played. I used to play. Well, I could go on. I haven't played that probably in about 20 years. So I apologize for anybody who really plays jazz. But I love to improvise, but I don't really have a repertoire of jazz. So I should have just answered no. But, I figured, hey, I'd give it a shot for you. Are there any other questions here? Anything relating to what you've learned here today about the piano pillar system? Anybody have any questions about their piano, your piano playing? Anything I can help you with specifically to help you with your piano playing? All right, well, come tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a really different show, and come with your questions. I'm gonna answer everything tomorrow. Each one of these is a unique experience, and I'm going to try to keep it fresh for you. Tomorrow, same time, and you'll get the link on livingpianos.com or over at my The Living Pianos Videos YouTube channel.
Did you tell them what you just played, though?
Oh, I didn't. That was a brutal attempt at Spain by Chick Corea. I've always loved Chick Corea's music and got to hear him live on several occasions. What a great combination of the Latin jazz, and also he wrote classical music. One of the concerts I went to his was actually for piano and string quartet. He was a phenomenal composer, and I just always have loved his music. All right, so I want to thank everybody for being here today. I hope you got something out of this, and let me know in the chat. And once again, it's not too late. If you want a strategy session for your playing, I'm happy to. You can set it up in the description and see how we get your playing on the next level. Thanks again for joining me, and thank you, Florence, also for being here and helping out with this. We'll see you next time.